All right. Islam, Mecca, and greetings to the Moorish nation. My name is Tyrone Morgan Bay, T. Morgan Bay for short. And I'm here with Jonathan Bay, and we're here to introduce to the Moorish nation the Moorish Unification Initiative, which consists of two applications or two platforms, one being the MoorishRegistry.org and the other being ActiveMoors.com. Just to give you a little introduction of myself, and Jonathan Bay will introduce himself to the Moorish Nation. This is my first time being recorded on video. I had previously not wanted to appear in any videos, but I think that this is a very important initiative that I had to introduce myself to the Moorish world. Not too many people know me or my background, but let me just give you a brief explanation, and then Brother Jonathan Bay will give his, just so you'll know my involvement in the Moorish movement. I've been a conscious Moor for 51 years. I am out of Cleveland, Ohio, the home of C.M. Bay. I started out at the Moorish American Institute, headed by Brother Johnson Bay, who was a student of C.M. Bay. In fact, all the people that I've learned the Moorish movement from, or Moorish history, Moorish science, and all the other Moorish cultures, I've learned initially from those individuals who were students of C.M. Bay. I didn't learn about the Prophet until later on, maybe 5 to 10 years after I've learned. I was initiated into the C.M. Bay information. We then created the Moorish American Institute, but kept the school. We created the Moorish Circle of Mothers and Sons, organization. We then kept the Moorish American Institute as our school, but the Moorish Circle of Mothers and Sons as the organization. We initially, when we changed to or added the Moorish Circle of Mothers and Sons, we then introduced to the world the C.M. Bay information. And over that time, just to let you know where all that information came from, where it initiated from, and what the Moorish world is using now, along with, besides the Noble Drew Ali movement, which is a very important part of what we're doing in the Moorish world, along with the C.M. Bay information. Definitely Noble Drew Ali, number one, but the addition to the C.M. Bay information opened up the Moorish world to another area of study. So that's who I am and where I'm from. I also taught at the Moorish American Institute. I taught mental science as well as Moorish history and science. And I added in later years Noble Drew Ali as the initial introduction to the Moorish teachings. as it was said, who started it all. Um, for those who don't know, I was told by the students of CMA that CM would not allow you to be a student of his until you got nationalized. That was initially what happened when Moors began to study under him. He wouldn't do anything with you until you got nationalized in the by the Moorish Science Center. After you did that, then you could be a student of his. So that was initially what happened, just to clear up the air as to the relationship between CM Bay and the Prophet. So that's my story. That's a brief part of my story. There's a lot more that goes with that, but I'd like to introduce another important person in the Moorish world, brother who was very active in doing all of the things that all Moors should be doing, and that's becoming active in creating avenues for Moors to grow and become a part of the Moorish world in a constructive way. Brother Jonathan Bey, give us your background.
Greetings, brother, and Islam, and good day to everyone that's within view or listening earshot of this transmission. I guess I'll start off with the fact that I am the creator of a site called MoorishDirectory.com. And MoorishDirectory.com is an information site, part of the infrastructure of information resources on the internet. It's a very large site. If anyone were to begin reading or studying on the Moorish Directory today, they would likely not be finished with it by this time next year. That's the amount of information that is on the site, MoorishDirectory.com. In addition to that, I'm an author of several books, notably The Moor's Guide to a Practical, More Hassle-Free Existence. And that Moor's Guide to a Practical, More Hassle-Free Existence, of course, is accessible at the MoorishDirectory.com, as well as other locations on the internet, other Moorish sites. In addition to that, I've also am the author of Standing on Your Square, which is a bit more advanced because it followed the Moor's Guide to a Practical, More Hassle-Free Existence. The reason the first was written was because I recognized that there were many coming into this new understanding and awareness of self, their culture, their hereditament, their bloodline, their nobility, and their rights and status. However, they didn't have a roadmap. They didn't have a user's guide per se. And they were finding themselves in a zealous moment, running face first into the fan blades, as it were. And there was something that I felt that was required to provide a certain information that would take 4 to 5 years off their learning curve and assist them in recognizing that there's a significant degree of due diligence in one's study that should be done prior to one's involving themselves in what can turn out to be controversial matters. As the Prophet said, not to embroil ourselves in controversy, public controversy, and other matters that they could very easily get themselves into much easily than they can get themselves out of. And knowing a little bit of law can sometimes be dangerous. You need to, as there's a term that all of us in our culture understand when we hear study, study, study. Well, that's important, but it's about studying the right material in the right way and in the right manner. That last part is relative to something which is my passion, and that's metaphysics, which, in my opinion, is true Moorish science.
All right.
There are quite a few videos on the internet, on YouTube, Vimeo, and elsewhere, as well as if you go to the moorishdirectory.com on the homepage, you can scroll down and you'll find a red banner in the center of the page that says More Talk. It's one of the video hides in which has a collection, it's a library of videos, educational videos. And many of those are relative to the classes that I give as it relates to metaphysics and why, in fact, that is true Moorish science. In addition to being the author of those two books that I spoke of, you'll find on the moorishdirectory.com also free books. There's one there that it took close to the half a year or two to put together because there's a lot of technology within the book. You can, the words that you hover over, it will give you the definition of the words. You can click on words throughout it. It will open up other pages that will give you the history, the background. And the name of this book is Your Right to Write, the Right Writ Right. Okay. Your right to write, the right writ right. And when I was looking at what the value of that would be, I found that it would actually, in my opinion, if we were to sell it for its value, would be cost prohibitive, perhaps to many in our community. But it struck me as being such an important item, as it turned out, for Moors to have. I couldn't put a price on it. So that is the reason why it is there available for free download for the community. Mm-hmm. And throughout the Moorish directory, you'll find that there are quite a number of a similar type of free PDS downloads, ebooks, and things of this nature that will provide a plethora, full spectrum of things from history to civics to metaphysics and the full gamut. So, you know, one does not necessarily need to join the moorishdirectory.com because, you know, initially there was no subscription to it. However, we had gone about 3.5 years, and then we looked at the sum total of the contributions to keep the site up and running for our community, and it came to $32.37. So we had to put a small nominal fee on it, which is $16 for every 3 months for the full access. And what that does is now it affords it to be self-sufficient. And that's very important for our infrastructure and for our community. And because we often find that we're thinking that the next guy or next gal, you know, will handle that responsibility, but we'll still partake of things.
All right.
And so this avoided that. Now, I'm also the creator of what they call the More app. And the More app is a resource that has easy access across the spectrum of resources in the Moorish community. It is also free and is kept available by stretching out those resources that come from the books that are sold and the entrance accessibility to the Moorish directory. That's what pays for that free platform. The More app, which can be obtained on Apple at the Apple Store for free download, as well as Google Play for Androids.
Wow.
And you know, you can have direct access to quite a few things on there. Other sites as well, RD Bay Publications, Moorish government public records. I have, you have free copies of the Holy Quran Circle 7 and other historical and links to various places. It's a very worthwhile community social app. In addition to that, ActiveMoors.com is a platform that was created for the infrastructure to provide our community a Facebook-like or similar to Zuckerberg's platform, Facebook, that is a social site for Moors in which they can come. There's a room for every region in every state, in every geographical location. Take, for an example, California. You went into the California room, you could introduce yourself. You can even set up your own sub-rooms within that room, say Sacramento or Marin Valley or any of the areas of geographics that you may wish. And what that does is it begins to afford our community a means and ways in which to find other Moors in their local area. Because one of the things that I kept hearing from our community was that I have no other Moors in my area. However, I recognize that not to be so, that more than likely they just had no other Moors that they knew were in their area. And that more than likely there were others, perhaps even quite a lot of others, that were feeling isolated or as though they were islands amongst themselves and needed a vehicle, a platform in which to find one another. So when they go to the activemoors.com, they can go to the geographical location. Let's say they go in and they look for the Oregon room, or the Mississippi room, or the Alabama room, or the Virginia room, or New Jersey room. And they'll find Moors, and perhaps they have already begun the process of erecting their own rooms of a more local municipality type of regional situation. But it also affords them to create their rooms as it relates to those things of interest to them, and they need not be just Moorish centric in nature. They can be dealing with the arts or sciences, music or bakery or whatever you may have, jewelry making.
Wow.
And bringing like-minded, because of course we're not all monolithic. We're very, very much a tapestry of different personalities, needs, likes, affiliations. Not all Moors are part of the Moor Science Temple. You may find that there are Moors that may be Baha'i faith, of the Baha'i faith. They may be of the Hindu faith. They may be of various belief systems. It does not qualify or quantify someone as being Moor if they that they must be purely of one belief system or not, because we all in fact come from the same root of the root, same cause of the cause. And so it is with there being only but one great creator of all, anyone that is true of heart, well, their belief systems will in fact be attached to that deity.
And that's where we're going with this the Moorish Initiative in terms of the Moorish Registry.
And the Unification Initiative.
Right, this Unification Initiative, exactly. So that platform, activemoors.com, we'll be talking about that later on and in another video. But we want to focus in on this, the Moorish Registry, which we think is a very important part of the unification of Moors nationally as well as internationally. So,
well, as you know, I was approached by a group of our citizenry to effectuate the technology because the time had come when, in fact, people in the community were feeling as though we should take the greatest advantage of the technology that exists and create these portals and unification platforms that would afford us the ability to begin the process of taking those first initiatives that heretofore had never actually been possible because of the lack of the technologies that would afford for that to occur.
Yes.
And with the event of this new technology coming into existence, we're now able to create and manifest these resources, these vehicles for our community that afford us for the first time in this modern era, a means by which to show a united front, as well as began to identify by numbers, the portion of our collectives in various regions and the nation, and perhaps even the world as a whole. And that's what also the Moorish Registry affords. What it does is it, for lack of a better term, and there's really nothing wrong with this term, a census, as it were, head count, because in numbers persuade. In numbers, there is power. You have to understand that data is information, and information is power.
Yes.
And
Well,
so, yes, please go ahead.
Just to, not to cut you off, but at the same time, I want to do it in a systematic way so people will understand
Absolutely.
what we're talking about here, and that is, give us an explanation of what the moorishregistry.org is. What is the moorishregistry.org, and then we'll get into the technology of how it's the platform is set up. Go ahead.
Well, it's a vector point within the infrastructure that is, first of all, an autonomous site, which means it is not affiliated with any particular group, temple, association, autonomous in the nature that it is unique within its nature itself. This is the first of its kind. This is the genesis of the Reunification Initiative platform, and a vehicle by which members of our community can gain access and, through their registration on the platform, identify themselves as being a part of our greater collective. That then becomes a head count. In addition to that, there has been built into this a database, a means by which to not only calculate those numbers, but also, or account for those numbers, but also upload one's important Moorish documents, be it their legal and lawful name corrections, their proclamation, of their pride and heritage and of their hereditament. And those documents, once uploaded to the moorishregistry.org, O-R-G, opposed to com, because it's not commerce and it's not commercial. It is in an organized structure that is not relative to the monetary commercial system. That's not what it's about. It is about servicing the Unification Initiative and our desire to be able to, for the first time, begin the process of unifying and
so what
yeah,
you're saying is it's a national database.
it is a national database, and it also affords for them to upload their documents, and they receive within 72 hours of their registration and uploading of their documents, would receive a what's called a QR code, cube or circle, which is a unique pattern, unique for each and every individual, as unique as your thumbprint, connected to a URL, in which once they have this unique code in their smartphone, then they can show that code to any other individual that they wish who also has a smartphone, and it will provide 24/7 access to those important proof documents, real ID, and afford them to always have that at their disposal 24/7.
Well, let me ask you. Okay, so so the mortuaryregistry.org is a national as well as international database for
Independent,
boards to upload their documents into the database.
correct,
The system then will generate a QR code
correct.
unique to them, unique to the
To that
individual,
specific individual,
right? And they can have this QR code on their phone.
correct.
Can you generate or print out a QR code and put it on the back of an ID card?
Absolutely,
All right,
absolutely. And so it would not matter what temple you may be with or what association you may be with,
all right,
or if you're with none at all, you could basically have it on a card by itself. And it will effectively have the same technologies embedded within it that it would afford that individual then to point it towards any smartphone. And as that smartphone's lens uh, sees the Moorish flag in the center of their particular data print,
uh-huh.
it will then open up their documents and make them available 24/7, those real
So
ID documents.
so it's basically a national database for Moors to identify themselves with, no matter and verification
Right.
of their Moorish nationality.
Sure, because you're seeing all of these other agencies per se coming up with these things they call real ID.
Right.
And this, of course, is a real ID. And a matter of fact, in my opinion, more real ID than much of the so-called mechanisms and vehicles that they are currently developing within their technologies, which are far more intrusive
Right.
than what ours is. And this, when I say ours, I'm saying Moore's.
Uh-huh.
When our technology is not as intrusive, what I'm suggesting is that if you look at, let's say, the cards that they may be calling real ID, or those technologies that they're trying to advance,
Yes.
you really don't know what information they may have in those barcodes.
Ah.
Okay, those things may be connected in all manner of ways that are not private to our understanding of
I
how
get you.
deep
Right.
data diving, how intrusive it may be. This information is not of that nature. And this is relative and specific only to the data which the individual so chooses to provide within that technological device.
So in other words, it only shows the documents, the identification that you upload and the documentation. So that you've uploaded onto the site. It's only going to show your paperwork and identify you as a Moorish American and verification of yourself as a Moorish American national.
That's correct.
Ah, who will have access to this information? I mean, um, in other words, um,
Absolutely no one except for the individual who has registered their account and uploaded the material. No one else will have access to their information nor their QR code pattern.
exactly. So,
And it has quite a few significant layers of security. We are have gone
let's talk about security. Yeah,
yeah
let's talk about security. Go
we've
ahead.
gone to a great extent, painstakingly, and uh, somewhat economically burdensome to ensure that we had at least 3 levels of security, as well as a team of extremely qualified technicians watching over the security of the site. It has been moved off continent and is now on trusted, protected servers elsewhere. And
Other than the continental,
yes,
North America. Okay.
correct. And the material is clad locked. There are reports that we receive on a monthly basis detailing, I think you may have seen those reports, detailing
Yeah.
that the securities have been taken care of for those things that needed to be updated or patched. So we know that it's going to be the intrusion of the site is going to be far more difficult. We cannot say, and I've been asked this question, people for some reason they say, well, is this site perfectly safe? Well, we know for a fact that there are malicious natures out there that have been able to hack into the Pentagon.
Yes.
Okay, and Microsoft. Okay,
so
if there's a will and a desire, okay, but it is very difficult to at where we are, especially monetarily. We are very close to what they would call military grade encryption.
All right.
Okay.
Excellent.
So, and that's where we're wanting to be, opposed to just a simple WordPress site, with its built-in,
Yes.
system.
Well, very, very good. That's an excellent explanation of how secure the site is. One of the other things is that there are Moors producing national identification cards that have PDFs attached to them. What is the difference between what they have and put on the barcode readers, put on the barcodes and whatever that they the data, the PDF data is produced? What is the difference between the Moorish registry, the importance of the Moorish registry versus people who generate, or Moors who generate cards that have local PDFs to them rather than on the registry itself? Tell me.
Sure. Well, what I would say in response to that is that, at least in my mind, things are never in either or factor.
All right.
Never throw out the baby with the bathwater.
All
Okay.
right.
They are still, of course, everyone more than welcomed. We encourage these enclaves to have their own unique identifiers. That's important,
Right.
regionally and elsewise. Um, but what it affords is that aspect of unification,
All right.
uniformity.
Which is important.
Uniformity
Very important.
is
Yes.
extremely important within an infrastructure. This becomes important when you're looking towards things such as uh, reanimation of a valid Moorish body politic. So without getting into that rabbit hole too deep, because the moorishregistry.org is autonomous and separate of those political matters, okay? It nevertheless stands as a vehicle in which all of these groups, every group you could possibly imagine, can choose to utilize this unification initiative's vehicle to be a part of the greater collective of individuals as well as organizations, temples, and the rest emassing as a broader network collective and framework of the rising community, taking full advantage of these technologies that are now at our disposal.
So in other words, what you're saying is that let's, so any Moorish American group, any group that is a part of the Moorish national movement, Moorish divine and national movement, can take part in this initiative, regardless of their affiliation with any Moorish organization.
Absolutely.
That they can upload their documents onto this platform and be counted among the Moorish nation as a whole, regardless of their affiliation with any Moorish group. So are you saying that this is kind of like a census? And not only does it, because I'm saying this because I'm sure that the national, the other national government, which is the American government or the United States as we know it, United States Corporation, some might say, has more information on Moors and their locations around the country and our numbers than we do.
Oh,
We have
absolutely.
no idea how many Moorish Americans there are, nor where they are in the country or outside the country that are
Yeah,
part
you
of
can
the Moorish
absolutely believe it.
national and divine movement. So
There, there's no doubt about that.
this is the way of collecting information on ourselves so that we know what they know.
It begins to balance out the information through these technologies because, as you so rightly suggested, they have there is no more out there that should be under the misperception that the governance is not aware of them or whatever organization they may be part of.
Right.
They have the head counts, they have the information, they have the specifics. And those specifics are, in fact, connected to other data points that identify them far more deeply as it would relate to their connection with that previous straw and all of the data and information that's connected to that, even down to your medical information. You can count on it.
Islam.
What this does is this now affords our community to begin the process of some catch-up ball.
Yes.
And began to amass our own database of information and to begin to prepare ourselves to always to also to be a resource for other Moorish organizations that may come to the MoorishRegistry.org and say, hey, might we be able to, here's our credentials. Might we be able to get some information, some data from you as it would relate to this particular area? We're trying to do a grassroots outreach, and we don't know where our citizenry is or any means by which to reach out, get some boots on the ground and begin
Yes.
this coalition. So it creates also a resource in which all other organizations can begin to depend upon
Right.
as being reliable information created by Moors for Moors.
Exactly.
Because just like the song says, Billie Holiday, God bless the child who has its own.
That
You know,
it's
that's
on,
right.
for sure.
You
For
know,
sure.
and when I'm saying the word God, I'm saying good orderly direction.
All right.
And so it's that synthesis, okay, that lower entropy, orderly building of the infrastructure that sets us in proper pace for our future. And this is all for our children and our children's children. It is about time that we erect, create, and manifest those resources that are going to be for the benefit of their health and welfare.
Islam.
Islam.
For sure. For sure. Let's go to the registry so that everybody can see the site, and
Absolutely.
we can go through it a little bit.
Okay.
So, and while you're doing that, I just want to say that so this becomes a census in terms of numbers for Moors, and it's so people can still maintain their own. Um, they can have their own national identification cards.
Yes.
Whatever group they're with, who produces those kind of cards, or individual organizations that produce cards for other Moors. Um, uh, it's still valid that they have their own barcodes and whatever they have on the back of their cards. But it's also important to be a part of the infrastructure that you want to generate on the MoorishRegistry.org, so that we'll get a good idea of the numbers of Moors that are out there. In other words, if we want to present ourselves to other nations as a government, as a unit, uh, this kind of information is very imperative, so that when asked, well, who do you represent? What are your numbers? What is your population?
Even as a political party, even as a body politic,
Correct.
whatever the nature of it is, we're talking about our sector of humanity communicating with other sectors of humanity on this global basis. And we are now in a global society, okay?
Yes.
And as an organ, as it were, of this greater system we call life on this planet, it is incumbent upon us to ensure that we speak for ourselves. That's the nature of standing, okay, alongside others who of correct status and speaking for one's self, opposed to, remaining in that minor or minority or childlike state, and in turn be able to proclaim, as is our unalienable right and duty, to identify clearly the nature of our hereditament, nobility, and status, and truly work towards that future point in which we will be also self-sustainable. And there are already, of course, mechanisms by which to ensure for this. And there are processes and there are mechanisms, methodologies. Anything scientific must have a process and methodologies in which things are to be correctly effectuated for them to be viable and valid. And this is but an element in which those numbers that define statistically within this database the amassed reality that we are here and emerging.
Islam.
We have to be able to provide those things ourselves.
So this is kind of the beginning of well, not the beginning, but an important ingredient, important part of creating national unity, creating a unification among Moors, and share information as to how
I
many
would go
there are.
one step further to even call it an imperative that this is a prerequisite because it foundationally is part of the infrastructure that clarifies its reality.
Exactly. So this actually can become a part of a public record. This is like a infrastructure for a public record of Moorish Americans around the country, around the world, actually.
Absolutely. And as it grows and becomes more sophisticated, because of course this is in somewhat of its fledgling stage,
right?
And as our technologies advance over course and time, so will the sophistication of its reliability as well as the scope of its utility. And so with that focus and that projection understood, we can not only recognize that all of that is possible, but relative to what you just stated, I can even say that it has already begun.
Wow.
And it is not a perception of what can be. It is a reality. It is now a functional reality. It exists. And if anyone goes to moorishregistry.org, they can also click on the various informational videos that are there, find out more about it.
Well, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's go through the registry here so the people can become familiar with the site and that they can navigate through it and see all the hyperlinks that you put on the site. And I want to say to all Moors and all Moors organizations that this is not a threat to your particular organization, your governmental structure, if that's a part of what you do.
Absolutely not. It's a strengthening of that.
This is a neutral site for all Moors to participate in. We're not, but it is very important that we begin to gain information about our national body politic. Who is a part of it? How many numbers we have? Where are they located in the country? So that if we decide to come together collectively as one, we can
which we have decided to do.
We can set up areas of governance for Moors. We can set up embassies, if you will, We can set up organizations that serve our Moorish communities wherever they are located at. So
And which are not just simply in name only,
yes.
but are in fact constructed in the manner. Now, there may be some that are familiar with a item called the call to action, which they can certainly find out more about it at this site and other sites. It's a very important aspect of bringing things from the intellectual to the objective reality. Mm-hmm. And there are certain Moorish rules of order, which are the devices and the processes by which you bring something to fruition in an objective reality, opposed to some people walking across the street, knocking on your door and saying, "Hey, I'm brother Ishmael, and I'm your leader." Okay, that is not how you create these things. That's always, in my opinion, must be, even down to the naming of your organizations, something in which the people, the citizenry, the individuals must all be part of in order for it to be valid and real. And there are processes by which you have your elected officials by the people who represent you. Certainly, you don't want someone saying they represent you if you don't know this person, know nothing about them. So there are processes. All of that information is here and available should they wish to look at it, but it's basically will take you off site to other resources, because this is not the Moorish registry.org is not political in nature, but of course there are avenues that will afford for you to find this information. Can you see the screen right now?
Yes, yes,
okay.
I see it.
I'm going to just, first of all, direct individuals to this particular item here, that it says clicking the above hub icon to access. What it will do is it will allow you to forward you to download the Moorish American Communities in Infrastructure document. And if they would wish to click that, then they would be able to read. Are you able to see that now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And they would be able to go through, and of course, it begins with, will there ever come a time in which Moors will stop bickering among themselves long enough to manifest a universally respected national body politic? And that's very important, that it's universally respected amongst all nations. And if so, when? So the answer to that question, of course, is yes. And if so, when? And the answer to that is now. And then how? And so as you read on, it'll provide more information. Speaking of which, here is, in fact, if you click on this, you'll be able to be afforded a copy of that call to action that is here, in which is extremely invaluable, that all Moors, no matter what organizations or temples you are in, to review the call to action. It's actually just one sentence, and it reads, "The time is undoubtedly now that certain bold initiatives must, without failure or delay, be called into being forthwith to initiate and implement the required constructs of a viable, active convention of evolutionary faithful Moors for the awe-inspiring solemn purpose of articulating and hearing with tolerance all reasonable national concerns, to be accompanied by respectful discussion and thoughtful deliberation on the important merits of all tabled, well-reasoned issues and affairs, united as one with an unwavering singular pursuit of sound and particular measure means, in which to fashion and actuate in a timely yet thorough manner an adequately provisioned quorum of specifically qualified, suitably aged, responsible electors of various statute, yet common by soundness of mind, each possessing an astute acumen appropriately peculiar to Moorish affairs, with well-suited honest willingness, unique abilities, and fortitude to succeed in the truly noble task of bringing to fruition a refreshing of our body politic to effectively address and accommodate with admirable fairness the various needs, desires, and revitalization requirements of our indigenous populace, collective, and individual well-being in harmony with our divine universal prophet's intent and lovingly established moral directive to be instrumental in the critically imperative task of uplifting fallen humanity, guided by the spiritually transcendent principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Islam. Islam.
Islam.
Very, very good.
So
Very
that
good.
is that is an aspect of, as I said, you'll be access to these that type of information. That's off site. This here is one of the videos that if you look at. This short presentation details and explains the MoorishRegistry.org's database's essential function and historical primary purpose. The Moorish Registry's independent online database essential function provides the following. First and foremost, a historical demonstration of Moorish unity. From all sectors of our multifaceted Moorish American community, not only domestically, but internationally as well. The MoorishRegistry.org census element allows for the first time ever historically an actual and accurate head count of our participating and ever-growing proclaimed Moorish population. The Moorish Registry's ability to demonstrate a Moorish American United Front will clearly demonstrate our incontestable strength in sheer number as never before capable in modern history. The power in numbers speak for itself, and powerful numbers in cooperative unity propels a people to a whole new level of competent and authoritative potential, a potential which leads to, when efficiently effectuated, the ability to demand and receive the equity and justice for all we deserve. So, how does it work? The MoorishRegistry.org's state-of-the-art, secure, and safe database will generate a uniformed QR code, real ID system in which all Moorish civic organizations and temples alike will have access for generating your own individual and unique real ID QR code cube, in which all Moorish organizations may then, in a manner as never before possible in history, uniformly affix your unique real Moorish ID cube to the organization's Moorish ID. The cube, when scanned by any smartphone, will immediately afford its cardholder 24/7 access to their important confidential Moorish proof of indigenous heritage documentation, temple affiliation, Moorish civic organization, proclamation documents, legal and lawful name correction documentation records, and more. Access to the Moorish Registry's real identification database is a state-of-the-art device no Moor should ever leave home without. Now, so you have that
Excellent.
information and type of information. You also have some other.
Before you go on to the next, just to kind of emphasize that part. I mean, I just want to say that you've used the technology very beautifully. I think that this is I want to compliment you on the site and how you definitely put together these hyperlinks and put together the site really, I mean, really well. There are a lot of Moors, especially older Moors, who may want to participate, but really doesn't understand the technology and how to upload their information onto. So I would like you to kind of just give them an explanation and then go to where that information is on the site that you're going to speak of first. So first tell us how you upload the information, and then go to the site where that explanation, where they can go and click on that information and understand it. But I think that if you give a a verbal explanation, and then they go to that area of the registry to click on how to upload their documents. It will be a little bit more better, and then they can repeat the video over and over until they understand the process. So
certainly, certainly, and I appreciate that. What, of course, would be first is, in my opinion, would be to review the material that's provided to get a good sense of the site itself. And then one would click here to register, and clicking there will take them to this area in which there are some very important notices that identify how, in fact, the uploading process must be effectuated in order for the QR code to correctly be connected to your specific documents. The primary element of that is that your documents must be named correctly. And what I mean by that is that you will place as the identifier of your file that you are uploading, no matter what is in that particular upload, do not describe what is in it, only identify who it is that is uploading. In other words, if it were myself, the only thing in which the name of the file would be stated succinctly as Jonathan Bay, nothing else, no other description of what's enclosed or anything, because it is your name in connection with your timestamp relative to the date and time of your uploading that individualizes you and differentiates me from another Jonathan Bay. And so in turn, naming it correctly is the most important aspect. And then there would be videos here that would identify how you can upload that. You would register here, providing your information, of which none is intrusive. There is a small fee because there are administrative expenses, especially in connection with protection of your important documents, as well as the site itself. And this fee will ensure its security and 24/7 reliability and accessibility. After you have filled in this brief amount of information, if you could then answer the question here that might be presented to you, that's just a fail-safe system to ensure that you are a flesh and blood human, agree to the terms and submit it. Then you will be receiving an email acknowledgement of your registration, along with information, a link as to how to then upload your documents directly onto the moorishregistry.org. And on the front page, again, there is here this information that somewhat mirrors what I've just stated regarding the important aspect of it, but it also shows the actual uploading process. And for those that may have an aversion to the technology, older individuals that may not be as computer or literate or tech savvy, it has been simplified to such a level that I am assured that no one should have any difficulty whatsoever if they follow the very few directions that are required in order to comfortably upload your information.
So I know we talked about um, uh, creating creating the file, creating the Jonathan Bay file or the Tyrone Morgan file, that Tyrone Morgan Bay file. That, in other words, and I've done this, so I'm just going to go through the process the way I've done it, and that
Mhm.
is the first upload. You'll have two initial uploads, right? So in other words, the first upload is your picture or your ID, but definitely you have to upload a picture. That is imperative, correct?
Yes, it is imperative that you have an image of yourself uh, in the registry. You cannot go any further until you have identified yourself with a human figure.
All right.
And that is upon the registration. And there's information there that that stresses that as being the first requirement and imperative uh, uh, point in which anything must be done. Before anything else, you must provide a profile image to be there.
So,
And yes, and that is also what you found to be uh, the case when you
yep,
did
when I registered,
you
right.
run? Okay.
When I registered, right, exactly. Also, uh, what I had to do was, regardless of the number of pages of my document and regardless of the varying documents that I uploaded, for instance, my nationality papers, any DNA information
Hmm.
that I wanted on there, they all have to be
Document.
as one document,
Right.
regardless of the number of pages and regardless of the number of different types of documents that you have. They all have to be streamed as one
Right. And we do have a video that will, in fact, demonstrate how that process is done to combine those documents so that you have a seamless one document. However, because we know that there are various levels of understanding these technologies, we also suggest that should you have any difficulties in combining those documents that you wish, fortunately, it has become such a regular thing that you can basically pick up a flash drive such as this one that I have in my hand for
uh-huh.
$5 these days. Take your documents to, excuse me, any print place such as Kinko's or Office Depot. Give them the documents and say, I want these combined into one PDF or one JPEG and placed on this drive. And then you can go over to their computers, click it in and verify that everything is in one document. And that's what you would upload. And you would identify and name that file with only your name, no description as to uh, what is in your packet of documents, but simply your name and your name alone. And that's it. It's just that simple.
And it's a it it's a drop. What do you call it when you
Drag and drop.
drag and drop?
Drag
It's a
and drop
drag and
process. So you would just basically find that file on your hard drive or, in your, on your flash drive, and you would basically just drag it over and drop it onto the device and it will upload it. You'll be able to see it upload. You'll have no question as to whether or not it's uploading or at what percentage rate of completion that is. When that's done, then you will receive a notice that it has completed, and an email will be sent to you. And you can be assured that within 72 hours after uploading that document, you will receive your email with a direct download of your QR code cube data print that is unique to you specifically and those specific documents in which you've uploaded for your accessibility 24/7.
Islam, Islam. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Well, go back to the original page, if you will, and where is the information for the registry? The video that shows the how to upload the documents, just so that they can identify it when they if they have any other
Yeah,
questions.
they can look at that even before they begin anything. They can basically go to the click here to register. And although the registration is, the information is down here, we have placed a video here that this video will show you how to combine your documents after you've taken them to the print shop.
Excellent, brother.
Okay, so that shows that you can, do it yourself, or you can take it to the print shop, and it goes through the entire process of how those can be combined and brought together into a singular document, and each and every step of the process. So if there's anything you don't understand regarding that, of course, you can get in contact with us, but it's pretty self-explanatory. I would guess that a viewing of this is not going to be difficult, and I would suspect that all of us have someone in our families that are a little bit better at something else than we are ourselves. So we always have that resource as well.
Exactly. Islam. I wanted to emphasize also, for those, there's something else that you added to this. Not only does it keep track of the number of registrations on the site, but it also you did a one of the issues, because of the things that Moors are doing in terms of selling people packages, overcharging, not coming through when they're needed in case of, they have to go to court and all the other things. So there's a trust issue among Moors.
And rightfully so. Unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. So what are we doing on this site to ensure trust? This is a not-for-profit venture, not even a venture, but it's a not-for-profit platform that you've created here, and I want to emphasize that, because the purpose of this is, number one, for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Freedom and justice and love for our community and for our nation, our national interests. So it's not about profit for registry.org. It's creating an infrastructure for governing, for information.
To assist the governing. And it's very important that you say that, because it's important for me to emphasize that this particular system, this database, is fragile within the context of this, that if you do not use it, you will lose it. This is one of those extremely rare opportunities in which something significant, extremely significant, has come to fruition. And I can guarantee you that if it is not embraced and utilized to the full extent in which uh, Moorish should take complete advantage of it and ownership of it. Okay. One of the things that is there relative to what you're stating is that you can go on to the registry and pull up a transparent, by clicking here, you can pull up a ledger that will show a continuing transparent recordation or ledger of finance in, finance out. As it is right now, there's primarily just finance out because we're hoping that at some point in the future it will become self-sustainable. But it is important to have that transparent information. Matter of fact, here it says click here to view the transparent accounting ledger, which will be updated at the beginning of each month. So it's soon to be updated actually, because but if you click it, you'll see that there's information here, and if you click on the URLs, then you'll actually be able to see the actual receipts of these things that have been expenditures and the rest, and that provides us. So that provides each and every individual a viewing of the accountability, and transparent accountability is important, I believe, in any organization, and that would be available to any individual as well as any organization. Doesn't matter if you're a temple or a civic organization or what have you. We're going to try to ensure that that remains up to date as individuals are coming in, so that if you register, you should be able to see that next month your name will be identified on there, and your contributors to the administrative upkeep of the site will be there, and everything should be balanced and there. But what I was saying regarding the utilization of this important step forward is that, in my opinion, if it is not used, it's going to be quite some time before another initiative of this magnitude is put together again in such a definitively cohesive manner for us to try this again. So if we do not use it, I guarantee you will lose it, because it will not be self-sustainable without the community coming to understand the magnificent opportunity that this database and mechanism affords for our children and generations yet to come. And we have to be the ones that create those. No one else will be able to do it for us, nor do we want them to.
So, so it's very important for us to participate in this registry so that we can build our nation. We can build the infrastructure. This is a part of the infrastructure of putting together a national unity and a national body politic.
Absolutely.
It's very important that we get this done, and it's all inclusive. It's not leaving out any Moorish.
And when we talk about the other site, activemoors.com, then we can go into more the detail regarding the that part of the infrastructure that's relative to the reanimation of the Moorish body politic and how that can occur correctly. As it relates to the moorishregistry.org, which is, as I said, autonomous, then it's simply about one registering, as they say, being in the number, okay, as those saints come marching in, that you want to, your participants in this unification initiative is critical to the evolution of our progress from being in a situation in which we are continually only talking, discussing,
Islam. Yeah.
and professing about what can be done or what can't be done, or the reasons why, or continuing to play the victim. Okay, that time is over. This is about progress, unity, and effectuating a united front and moving things into the active stage. We're no longer in the information era. We're now in the application era.
Islam.
And it's about applying these technologies and ourselves, our own initiatives, to begin the process of stepping away from just talking and now doing it. And it has begun.
Islam. We're in the 21st century, and we have to use 21st century tools in order to unify and use them correctly. This is the age of Aquarius.
Age of enlightenment.
We are like almost 2 degrees in the age of Aquarius, and to be full blossom in 3 degrees. So we want to make sure that we are set and ready for this age. The prophet was born in 1886. The age of Aquarius began in 1865. So just 21 years, that's the number 3 for those numerologists. He was born 21 years after the age started. And 3 is the master degree. And a master came to begin this movement in this age. So this infrastructure that Jonathan Bey has created, and I'm sure that there are Moors who thought of this idea of registering all Moors and wanted to know how many Moors there are in the country and wanted to know where they're located in the country. And this is the opportunity to get that information, to get it done, to form a national body politic that we know for certain is this number or that number, and this certain amount of population is in the northwestern part, or the northeastern part, or the southwest or southeast part of the country, or even on an international basis. We talk to people in Puerto Rico, we talk to people in Canada. There's Moors in Canada and Puerto Rico,
Sure.
all over the world,
Sure.
who want to be a part of this that we've talked to. So this is our opportunity to participate and get involved. This is your part that you can do to initiate the next phase of setting up our infrastructure.
And to camelback on what you stated, brother, that there may have been others who have intellectually perceived something of this nature and recognize how beneficial it would be. But as of today, Friday, December the 11th, 2020, this is unique within, there is no other of its nature. This is, in my opinion, a coming to fruition and fulfillment of the prophetic communications relative to the day and era in which we will begin that reunification process. And this is the absolute first time in which this technology in this manner has been available and made available, constructed and completed. And it is no longer a hypothesis or a theory. It is real, viable, and operative as we speak.
Islam. And on that note, I just want to say that this is a great day. This really is a great day and a great opportunity. And but the next part of this is our first video on this. We said it's a two-parter in terms of introducing the Moorish registry to the nation, but we also want to show you and go through and explain activemoors.com platform, which is a communication platform.
Sure, be glad to.
Go ahead, explain that again.
It would be my honor, and we can, whenever you wish to go into that, because I like to make sure that people understand these are separate, because
can you put the image? Can you put the title up, and we'll be talking about this in the next video.
Sure. And this is the activemoors.com. And so, here,
just to preview what we'll be talking about in another video, I just wanted to let everybody see the site, and they can actually go to it right now and create their rooms, their discussions, or whatever they want to do. And but go ahead and just give a brief explanation of the.
Sure, and this would just basically arrive at the site activemoors.com. Okay. When you arrive there, there's information that lets individuals know that it is a requirement for them to have their profile image. It's not necessarily a requirement to have the background, but background is nice. And that if you want to access, go ahead and close this, further areas, these are the way that you would contact, or excuse me, enter into certain areas of the site. Here is where you would sign up to become, and this is completely free, 100%, no fees, no hidden charges, anything. This is your free social network that is similar in nature to Facebook. And what I have been asking all of the Moors who are part of this Active Moors, which I am also a member, is that they would please let all of their Facebook friends become aware of the fact that we now have our own social network in which we can begin to wean ourselves off of Zuckerberg's Facebook, which is extremely intrusive, and come into an area and infrastructure and atmosphere created by Moors for Moors that, in my opinion, is far safer and secure, especially for our children. And once you've logged in, then you'll be able to go in and be able to view the various other activities, of what's going on in the site, and let's just go ahead and pull up one. I'm just reaching here to pull up one brother, and then you'll see that he has his background. And this operates very much in the same way as you would see in Facebook. And he's started posting his videos here and becoming part of discussions. You can also be part of groups such as, let's see here, let's back up and go to, if we can, we'll go in here and go to the groups. And you can see in here, there's one educators group right here for noble educators. Okay, and people have signed up to become members of that. And then you have here all of the other various states, as you can see, in territories within the groups. But we'll get all into that as as we said, once we have that dedicated discussion with respect to that platform, which is independent and completely separate from the MoorishRegistry.org.
Excellent, excellent, brother, excellent. So I want to thank you for. I want to thank the viewers out there for viewing our video and being a part of our audience. And I want to thank Brother Jonathan Bey for his participation in the Moorish movement and using his skills as a technician of this type of technology to really construct a very, very, I think, ingenious site. It takes a lot of planning, but you and I had talked about this, and it was really a discussion at first, and then you just went to work. I mean, you went to work and produced it within a matter of a week. You conceived the idea and put it together, and man.
No, I would say more so, to be very honest about that I was just the vehicle, the instrument. When you're doing something that is correct, and in which its time has come, it's no longer from the individual's intellect. Of course, had to have the knowledge in which to effectuate, the physical doings of this or doings of that. But the energy and desire, being a vehicle is just being a conduit in which other energies flow through. So I would say that you and others who had come to me were also, let's say, listening to the whispers of your better angels and suggested that perhaps I may be someone who would be amenable to take on the awesome responsibility of being that conduit through which those higher forces would come to bear and ensure through me that this in which its time has come comes into being.
Wow.
And so I really see, I'll get in trouble if I start taking credit. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get in trouble if I start taking credit. So
I got you. Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
But I feel you, brother. I feel you, and I appreciate it. And love. It's just love that has actually brought all this together. So we want to end here and go on to our next video, which is the activeMoorsVideo.com. But this is the Moorish Registry. It's there for us to use, and hopefully we'll begin to use it. I know we will. I know there are Moors out there who want to participate, So go ahead, initiate, get it done right now.
And on behalf of our community, I'd like to thank you, brother, for affording the platform for getting the word out. That's so important. And I'm hoping that others that may have an opportunity to view what you have afforded the community, the ability to view this interview, I'm hoping that others will also pass it along. And I appreciate your initiative wanting to have this interview, and very much appreciate your time and resources, talents, and initiative to make this available for our community. Thank you, brother.
Islam. Just contact information. Any contact information that we want to put out there? Go ahead, you first.
Sure. If they are wanting to reach the Moorish Registry, they would simply go to info, I-N-F-O, at moorishregistry.org. Info, I-N-F-O, at Moorish Registry, MOORISHREGISTRY.org. And we, of course, get a lot of emails and texts and things of that nature, but we can guarantee you if you reach out, we will definitely. This is a volunteer activity, so we'll certainly get to you as soon as possible, but you can be rest assured that that email is the best way to get in contact with us, and we'll be sure to get back with you.
And you can contact me, Tyrone Morgan Bay, at Moorish Circle of MS at yahoo.com. Moorish Circle of MS at yahoo.com. And on that note, we're going to say peace and love to everybody. We're out here.
Islam.
Islam.
Islam.